Steinhouse, and welcome to today's Money Chat Now interview. In this portion of the show, I take the opportunity to interview interesting people and introduce you to their products, their services, or just their good intentions. Hey, if you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. Let us know why you want to be interviewed, and I'm sure we can make that happen. All right, let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. My guest was born and raised in Poland. He came to America in 1988 without even $1 in his pocket, and he wasn't even able to speak the English language. He worked in construction since 1988 and restaurants businesses for 7 years as a chef. He was continuing to work hard, and he considers himself an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, a stock trader, owner of a construction company, and other businesses. He is the father of 4 great kids. He's happily married. He owns a public adjusting company, and I want to learn all about him. So let's welcome to the show my guest, Peter Bondarenko. What's going on, Peter? What's happening, man?
A lot of going on. The world is an interesting place.
What's an interesting place?
The world.
The world? So you got to tell me about Poland, speaking of the world. What's going on? What goes on in Poland?
Right now, a big mess. With everything going on with the Ukraine.
Well, I'm sure, but tell me about when you were there. So you came here in 1988, right?
Yeah.
So were you how old?
I was 16 when I came here.
You were 16, you didn't even speak English.
Correct.
By the way, I do have to say
one word. I'll be back.
I do have to say one thing. Did you get that jacket from Poland?
No.
You know, because, you're competing with me here.
No, I think that came from China.
And I'm very upset about it. I mean, they let you in my studio wearing that jacket?
I'm just trying to be like you, Larry.
All right, well, that's fine. I'm gonna have to.
You're my mentor.
I'm gonna have to be cool with it. You're clashing me. I mean, I'm looking at this video, going, wait, what's this? The Blue Jacket Brigade or something?
I didn't know you were gonna wear that jacket.
I always, excuse me. I always wear this jacket. All right, so I'm sorry. So tell me more about Poland.
It's an awesome country. It's a lot of history.
So why did you leave?
Well, to create a better life, a chance of better life.
Well, you were 16. Did you have a choice?
Well, I was actually in an orphanage at the time.
Really?
Yes. So my aunt and uncle actually brought me here. It was my godfather because, I was in an orphanage. I was on my own, and they wanted to have better chance for me. So
interesting.
I said, hey, everybody wants to go to America. It's a land of opportunity.
Absolutely. So tell me about that. So you're in Poland. Now you're in an orphanage, and your aunt and uncle live here. Is that what it was?
Yes.
And they reached out to them and said, "Hey, send them here."
Yeah, well, it was more complicated than that. It's a long story, but they tried to make things work for me to come here, and they made it happen.
All right.
It took a while. Had to do some things, but they said, hey, come over here. If you like it, stay. If you don't, you can always go back.
So they basically rescued you? Yes. That's pretty wild. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Are they still with us?
No, unfortunately, no.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. So you lived with them for a while, I guess? Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah. Ever since 88.
Okay, great.
I lived with them for a long time. Actually, most of it in Northeast Philly.
Well, so you come here, you don't speak the language. Is it a big Polish population where you came in Philly?
No, actually, believe it or not, not. The whole neighborhood where I spent a lot of time, there wasn't really many Polish-speaking people.
So how did you communicate?
I tried to learn English as fast as I could.
Well,
I went to high
apparently you
school.
did a good job because you speak it pretty well, but it's been a while. So how long did it take you to actually have normal conversations with people?
About 6 months. About 6 months I was kind of familiar with it, but probably a year or two to really be more fluent.
Now, so you went to school, right?
Yes.
So when you were going to the classes and learning, were you just sitting there in the class not knowing what the teacher was saying?
So Northeast High School actually had special classes for people that wanted to learn English.
Okay.
So that kind of helped me learn the English language.
But you couldn't learn what the other students were learning at the time. You had to just concentrate on that, correct?
Correct. It's like pretty much watching, what was it, Channel 12? You see the picture, they tell you how it sounds, you remember it.
Right. No, it's interesting. Yeah, okay. No, because I've had trouble. I've tried to learn Spanish several times. No, very, very little Spanish I speak. but I tried to learn it several times, and I keep thinking, if I was just thrown and immersed into another language, how long would it take me to learn it?
It's actually much quicker if you get immersed into the language itself than if you're trying to learn here. So a lot of times if you go to other countries, you stay there for a longer time. If you're willing, if you want to, because you have to be willing.
Right.
The more you're willing to do it, the quicker you learn.
Yeah, sure, because I'm not that exposed to Spanish. And, you obviously were exposed to English every day, so it'd be easier for you to learn. I'm not exposed to Spanish. I'm not forced to speak it. So it's different for me. But I'm just curious because it's something that I've always wanted to do.
Exactly. Especially if you have people, laughing at you and talking and you don't understand it. You want to know what the heck they're talking about.
Right. They probably would talk. They're probably laughing at your jacket.
Well, back then, believe it or not, if you see my photos, you might have too.
You probably had hair back then too.
I did, actually, believe it or not. If you've seen the photos, you'd be surprised.
So just think about this. I'm making fun of your jacket wearing this jacket. I'm making fun of your hair with this hair. So, we're pretty good here. All right, so you come here from Philly. I'm sorry, from Poland. You're in Philly. You're 16 years old. Do you go to work right away?
Yeah, I actually started working at the restaurant business as a dishwasher, actually.
Okay.
That's how I started. It was a part-time job, but it was a great job. It was a great restaurant. I learned a lot there. Met a lot of interesting people.
And I would imagine in Philly so this was a Greek restaurant, maybe?
That was actually Italian restaurant.
Italian,
You may
okay.
be familiar with it. It was called Vinny's.
I'm not, but no, just because I'm wondering if they, because they would be yelling in their language in Italian, right?
No, not
No,
necessarily.
mostly English. Okay.
It was
Okay.
pretty much
Cool.
English, but it was true Italian restaurant.
Did you go to school? Did you go to college?
I went to high school, Northeast High School. I work at Vinny's, and I also work on the weekends with my cousin, who was a contractor. That's when I started learning construction.
That's awesome. So you started doing construction. That's pretty wild. So what was your favorite thing about construction? What were you working on?
You know what? I just always like to build things.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. It was different every day because one day you did windows, doors, siding, renovations. Just different things every day, and that's what I like the most about construction. It's never the same thing.
Right. Sure.
Every day.
Yeah. Sure.
And I like to be creative. I guess my brain is wired that way.
I like it. I get the same thing. I love creating things as well. Obviously, the studio you're sitting in, I created it. All those things that are falling, I created those lights that are falling right now, and the red stripe that goes by.
Awesome job.
I
Awesome
created
job.
that too.
Impressive.
All right. So then you're here for a little while. Then what happens to you after you're in the restaurant business?
Well, I worked in that business. Actually, I worked 3 jobs at some point: construction and cooking. Also, UPS nighttime. So there was some stressful times, but I finally took the advice, like a lot of people say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And I quit that business because it was tiring and stressful, and went to work in construction.
So, okay, so you're working in construction now. Then, now because how long did you work in construction for? Are you still doing it now?
Yeah, well, yes, not as much. I mean, I still do things on investment property, but I don't do it for hire.
Gotcha. So you do it basically for the enjoyment. Because it's funny, every once in a while I'll work on one of my own investment properties, and I'll do it just for the enjoyment. Same thing.
Exactly.
But most of the time I'm hiring people. It's very difficult to do it on your own time because you have other things that you're working on.
Yep, exactly. I sub it out most of it.
Right. And then you have the availability to find subs. Then
Yes.
I need to find subs. We need to talk after this, and you need to
I know
tell
a
me
lot
all the
of
people,
people.
all the people who can help me.
Absolutely.
All right. So then you decided to get into some other businesses. Tell me some of the businesses you got into.
Well, with you, option trading,
Sure.
that was one of the greatest move I made. Joined
Great.
the investor school.
Thank you.
I always wanted to learn about stocks and options. I did stocks. I just never really understood the options.
Mhm.
So that was helpful. Real estate, I have taken some courses before as well. And I always wanted to do, deed sales, tax deeds, and other things. I have other businesses that are online businesses.
Tell me about the online businesses. This is interesting.
So actually, years ago, it's about 6 years ago, I joined ACN, which is online
Oh,
business.
sure, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, multi-level
It's
marketing
essential.
company. Yeah,
Yeah. And
they were supposed to come out with the video phone. You
they
remember that?
did. They
They
did
did,
have.
right?
They sell it.
But nobody used it. The funniest part is like even now, you know, we have all these FaceTime and video. Still, people don't use it, which is funny. They use it every once in a while, but they're
Yeah.
not like it was supposed to be.
Yeah. So.
That was Trump backed, wasn't it, or was it Trump was
Well, he was endorsing
endorsed it?
it.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, cool. So how'd you do? How well did you do with that?
I did okay. I mean, I did it because it was making a difference, you know. And every client I got,
Hmm.
and they paid the bill, it was donated to Feeding America. So that's why I did it because.
Feeding America.
Yeah.
America's a really big place. How much could you have possibly donated to Feed America?
You can, believe it or not, you can make a difference. I like to make a difference. You know, I came from a very poor family. You know, I pretty much raised myself throughout all these years. I was working since I was a child, whether it was on a farm, a factory. You know, I think when I was like 14, I worked 24-hour shifts in a factory. So I knew from day one that I was a entrepreneur.
So what makes you a hard worker? Why is it that some people could come here from other countries and they could sit around watching TV, or even people born in this country could sit around watching TV, and you come in and you're like boom, boom, boom. What's the difference? What do you think the difference is?
Ambition, I guess, and ability to appreciate things that you didn't have back then. I mean, over here people say I have food stamps. I laugh. I'm like, you don't know what food stamps is, because I remember where we had to wait overnight. Like people wait for iPhones overnight.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I had to wait for food
Wow.
with actual stamps that
Wow.
look like stamps. You had to submit them for a liter of milk and a loaf of bread. So to me, it's a big joke when somebody says, you know,
You have to use
food
your
stamps,
ATM,
yeah,
new ATM card.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, it did start out that way.
Yeah.
It did start out with the food stamps. Excuse me. But it did start out with the food stamps. But you're right. It turned into. I wouldn't be surprised if Poland is using the ATM card now too, because that's just technology. Technology just advanced. But I totally agree. Pretty wild, man. That's pretty wild. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to talk to you about your public adjusting company. So we're going to take a quick break. We will be back in just a minute. Peter will be back with us in just a minute.
Okay, so you thought about buying and selling real estate. You've thought about investing in the stock market, but don't know where to start. Well, what if you could find a place to unlock strategies to master both real estate and the stock market, all without the headache? That place is Investor Schooling, hosted by Larry Steinhouse, an expert in real estate, financial literacy, and the ins and outs of the stock market. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate, and you will learn mastery of stock techniques such as options and covered calls. You will even get a chance to ask one of your burning questions to the stock options sultan, the master of picks and plays. Call 866-424-2829 for free information and receive a complimentary pass to attend classes, or register online at investorschooling.com. Don't delay. These passes are limited. So what are you waiting for? Call 866-424-2829. That's 866-424-2829. Or visit investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back to Money Chat Now, the interview portion. We are currently interviewing Peter Bondarenko, and if you'd like to be a guest on this show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. Tell me why you want to be a guest, and we'll see what we can do. Hey, so we're right here. We're interviewing Peter Bondarenko, and he's telling us all about the things he's done in his life, and we're going to get into his public adjusting business, because I want to learn more about public adjusting. So, Peter, you got to tell me about this. So, what is public adjusting? Because I'm sure most people have no idea.
So public adjusting is a service that not many people actually know about. Is when you have insurance claim, usually you think you're supposed to call the insurance company, report a claim, and they handle everything for you. Well, we as public adjuster are the advocate for the policy holder. So whether you're a homeowner, business owner, or a investor that has a lot of properties, we can represent you and your best interest to make sure you're treated properly and you have fair settlement. So we make sure we work for you, not for the insurance company.
All right, so let me get this straight. So my house burns down, and I call the insurance company. Go, yeah, your house burned down, Here's your policy. You're supposed to get whatever. You're supposed to get $200,000 for repair it, $50,000 for the contents. So why do I need you?
Well, there's a lot of complications when it comes to filing a fire claim. A lot of components, and if you never dealt with the fire laws, you probably don't know what to do.
I'm really glad that I never. Actually, my mother's house burned down to the ground. I mean, like literally to the ground. But go ahead. What you were saying?
And a lot of people don't know, what to do. What should you do? You need somebody that has the experience to guide you,
Right.
to let you know what you should do, how you should be proceeding. But most importantly, how do you know what your claim is worth? I mean, you're just pretty much going off what the insurance company is offering you. But do you know if that's fair or not?
Well, I know that if my house burned down to the ground and they say that they're going to rebuild the house, is that all I need to know, or do I need to know more?
Insurance company doesn't rebuild your house.
Well, that's true. They pay to rebuild the house. That's
They
true.
pay,
Right.
and a lot of times they don't pay what its fair value of that house. So every policy is different, and that's why we try to be proactive and review your policy before something happens, because a lot of times people don't have enough coverage.
So in other words, if I had $200,000 worth of coverage and it cost me $250,000 to fix my house, the insurance company writes me a check for $200,000 and says, "Ha ha, bye bye."
Yes and no, but most part you're correct. But there's other components. There's additional living expenses.
Right.
There's many other endorsements that could be in a policy that could help that out.
Yeah, I remember my mother, when her house burnt down, the insurance company paid for her to stay in a hotel for a really long time. It was almost a year. I mean, she ended up renting a house temporarily, just so she wouldn't be living in a hotel anymore. But I mean, she had everything she had was gone. All she had was the clothes on her back when they got out of the house just in time, and the house just went boom down to the ground.
Yeah, and now imagine if the insurance company comes to you and says, "Oh, make a list of all the contents that you lost." Imagine that, coming with a list of items that you think you remember,
Oh yeah, sure.
and most of the people never remember 80% of the items.
Well, that's interesting too. So now you're coming in. So obviously somebody pays for your service, right?
Correct.
So how do they pay for your service?
It's a contingency fee basis, just like an attorneys do. You don't pay us anything unless we get your money.
Right.
And it's a percentage, and depending on the size of the claim, what the percentage is.
So if they get a percentage, then how do they get their house fixed if they need that money to fix the house?
Well, because even with our fee, they get way more payment than they would have received dealing with the insurance company directly.
Got it. So you're basically making sure that these people are made whole again.
Correct.
All right. So now you just said something interesting. You said about how do the people know what's in their house? What's the difference if they tell you or they tell the insurance company?
Well, because we actually have a list that we go over with the clients to kind of refresh their memory. We work with them to kind of pinpoint the things that they had, photos, the kind of resources where we can find the information and put a list together, and not only the list, but the correct pricing. Because, insurance companies, a lot of times, they will go by the sale price, not the actual retail price, which can be a huge difference.
Well, there is a difference. It's replacement. So I mean, you see this with jewelry all the time. When people get jewelry riders, maybe they insure the jewelry for $10,000, but if the insurance company can buy that exact same ring for $5,000, they're just going to hand you the ring and say, "Hey, sorry, we bought it for $5,000."
Correct.
And is that basically the same thing that happens with you guys when you have a claim?
Well,
When you're
not
fighting for
exactly.
a
We
claim?
always fight to make sure that the insured is made whole. The same quality, size, and texture, not the value necessary.
Right, gotcha.
So,
Sure. Right, so that's pretty cool. So, tell me about like one of the most interesting claims that you ever had or had to work with.
it was a hotel in New Jersey. It was a Best Western that burned down. Well, first year, it was after Sandy. It was a windstorm. We got a whole brand new roof. It was a huge hotel. And then a year later, they actually had a fire. And it was pretty intense fire. A lot of units got burned down.
Wow. So first they called you for the windstorm to fix the roof, and obviously you did a good job because they called you again, and then the place burned down completely.
Not completely.
Okay.
It was pretty big fire. I think about 20 units were affected, but they lost a lot of business throughout that time. So it was a very complex claim because you had lots of business. renovation. We help them guide through all the construction and renovation as well. It took a while because fires usually
Sure.
residential
Yeah,
take
yeah,
about a year.
sure.
This was a little
Yeah.
bit even longer. You had to deal with the townships, with the codes, enforcements, and upgrades. So there was a lot of complexity with the claim, but it was a great claim.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can imagine must have been in the millions.
It was almost $1 million.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then obviously, if you get a piece of that, you're pretty happy.
Yes, it's not always about our fee because actually we
I
lower our
understand.
fee
I
very
totally get
low
it.
because
Right.
it was such a huge
Yeah.
claim. But I just enjoy helping people.
Right.
Especially at the end when they thank you for the
Sure.
service, that makes me happy.
All right. So tell me, like, somebody has insurance policy right now. They're thinking about this. Hey, what are some things that they should be looking at in an insurance policy to avoid getting hurt if something bad happens?
Well, one of the things is that's why we offer free policy review because we want to make sure people are properly insured.
Right. But this
Right
guy,
now,
this might be somebody watching this in California. They obviously not going to
Yeah.
reach out to you. So just some things that they should be looking at.
well, so insurance companies are getting more complex, and the policies are getting more. They call it a la carte,
Mhm.
where they're giving you basic, and then you have to ask for the additional endorsement to properly be covered. But you have to make sure you have the replacement cost. You want to make sure the policy is not ACV policy because actual cash value, they'll depreciate the heck out of it, and they give you a little bit of it, what you should get.
So in other words, if I bought a brand new couch 5 years ago, and the couch is in perfect condition, and I paid $2,000 for the couch, they may say that it's a 5-year-old couch. We're only going to give you $1,000.
Or less.
So that's actual cash value. That's what that is.
Correct.
So what's the other one? Replacement value is the other one?
Yes, replacement values where they're going to depreciate whatever that cost is, but if you go and buy the same item, same quality today, and it costs 3 times
Right.
as it was when you bought it a few years ago, they owe you the difference.
Okay, I got you. So that they'll actually pay the whole thing.
Correct. As long as you have that right policy in place. And there's a lot of other endorsements. There's sump pump endorsements. There's service line endorsements that people don't know about.
So tell me about some pump endorsement. That's really interesting.
So there's a lot of times where the basements get water, and people most of the time call and say, I have a flood in my basement.
Mhm.
Big mistake. You never use the flood word
That's
because it's a water damage.
Right.
But a lot of times insurance company will deny you over the phone because you say the wrong thing.
Oh, yes.
So by just being educated to know what to say to the insurance company can make a huge difference whether you're covered or not. And even with my mother's house, I've been doing this for a while. It was water damage. The adjuster came to the house, and before she even got in the house to look what happened, she was pointing to language in the policy saying this is not a cover loss.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you're wrong. It is a cover loss. And we won. They paid. But even
Wow.
a lot of adjusters, insurance adjusters, don't understand the policy language. And that's the key. Understanding the policy language and all the endorsements.
Interesting. Because I've had claims. I've had several rental properties for years. I've had a couple of claims, and most of them went well. I had one that, they flat out declined me, but I actually kind of figured they were going to decline me when the water line going from the street to the house burst, but didn't do any damage to the house. And I was kind of hoping I would get, that water line replaced, but no, that didn't quite happen. That was very expensive, by the way.
And I had some of those paid, actually, believe it or not,
Really?
depending how you present the claim.
Okay. Well, see, I should have called you. See,
Now
what
you
do I
know.
know? What do I know?
Call me first
Right.
if anything happens in the future.
There you go. All right. So now, how does somebody? So somebody has a claim, and they don't really know about public adjusting, or they don't want to pay a public adjuster. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to call their insurance company, and they're going to try to negotiate or try to work with the insurance company, and then they feel that they've made a mistake, that they probably should have called an adjuster. Is it too late?
No, it's never too late. You can always ask for second opinion. Our consultation is free, so we can always check out what's going on, give you an advice, or if you would like us to represent you, we're happy to do so. But yeah, in Pennsylvania, most of the policies, you got statute of limitation, which is 1 year. So even if you file the claim and a few months later you still have a hard time dealing with the insurance company, give us a call. We'll gladly review, see what's going on,
Got
and
it.
see if we can help you.
I had one actually where hail damage. I didn't even know it. And I canceled the policy. Like, I went to another company 2 months after the hail damage. And when they found the hail damage, I actually went back to the old company, and they actually paid it. I was actually very surprised.
Yeah, as long as it was when it happened, when you had the coverage with that insurance company,
Right.
that's who is responsible.
Yeah, we were able to prove it.
And makes it a little more difficult to deal with them because you're not with them anymore, but you can still do it.
They were fine. Actually, it was pretty easy to deal with them. All right, so tell me a little bit. How can people? So first of all, what's the name of your company?
PB Adjusting.
PB Adjusting.
Yeah,
What
like
does the
peanut
PB
butter.
stand? What does the PB stand for?
Peter Bondarenko.
I kind of figured that. Well, you said peanut butter. I just, I thought that was pretty funny too. So how can somebody get a hold of you?
Well, they can go on to their website, www.pbadjusting.com, or they can find me on the social media.
Is there a phone number they can call?
Yeah, absolutely. 267-392-9907. That's my cell phone and direct line. Or they can call the office at 215-388-2056.
That sounds great, man. Hey, I want to thank you for coming in. It's pretty awesome, man. I learned a lot, actually. I learned a lot about you, and I learned a lot about public adjusting. All right. Hey, I want to thank you all, the rest of you guys, all for watching. I really appreciate it. My name is Larry Steinhouse. I am the host of Money Chat Now. Money Chat Now is live every morning at 7:30, and you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you'd like to be a guest on this show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. Let us know why you want to be interviewed. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. And hey, we hope you enjoyed today's interview with Peter Bondarenko, and we hope you'll tune in again. And most importantly, make it a profitable day. Take care. Thanks.